the brand to a customer is so important, and it looks like you've got that crystal clear. Yeah. When we have people calling in, I hope you can talk to them about how to sharpen their brand so it works in the same way. But these complexities you're talking about, especially supply chain issues, are really tough today, and they're not getting better. What do you find opening a new store in D.C.? Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah.
That you were able to negotiate in this market, given the economy, that you were not able to negotiate before, that maybe actually helped you open that store.
Well, I will tell you that in that store, that negotiation was pre this market. So I am in those negotiations, but that store isn't a good example of it. And now, even if I signed a deal that, say, pre-September, if we just pick that as the date, all of those relationships were still, I would say the developers are really excited to have a business that's doing well and are coming to the table even if it was a deal that was already signed. So when it comes to real estate, it's fundamentally changed. And I say that because think about my trajectory with Giggle. I launched it in 2002, did a concept for about 2 years before I was confident in the rollout model, went out, raised money to do that, moved the headquarters here. So really the last 3 years has been expansion. Those have been very expensive real estate years.
Yeah. Yes,
and certainly not the tenant with the power.
Right.
and that's a big shift right now. It's a big shift right now. And I mean, the good news, I will say, is the good landlords, and I often say as an entrepreneur, often am attracted to the proprietor landlords and the owner-operated ones because their financial models enable them to have a longer-term vision for what's the right player for them, what's the right mix. And a business like Giggle is great for the community of any street or center. So we can often be that long-term community pick for them. Whereas the larger guys that are owned more by the financial models that have to run it through at a much faster rate, they're not as able to actually sort of strategically plan. And
I've learned so much just in the last 12 minutes, and I've experienced that firsthand with choosing who your landlord is and how critical that is. Allie Wing is the featured guest this hour, founder of Giggle. I almost said it again. Giggle. Guys, we're going to take a quick break and be right back. Mark Suster is going to be here of GRP, the venture capital firm. He is rejoining us later in this hour. He's going to tell you how to pitch. We're not going to hear a pitch. He's going to tell you how to do it. That and so much more ahead.
All right, it's the Fox Business Network. I'm Robert Gray along with Dagan McDowell. We want to hear from you, your questions about your money.
We're talking specifically about starting your own business, growing it. The phone number, you can see it down at the bottom of your screen, 877-249-9626, or email us yourmoney@foxbusiness.com. So pitch. The pitch, we're not taking one. We're going to teach you how to toss one.
That's right.
Give a good pitch. Pitching your idea is one of the first crucial steps to really growing your business, getting money in the door. And for advice on how to perfect your pitch, Mark Suster is here, a partner at the venture capital firm GRP Partners. Mark, it's great of you to be here. I'm just so excited. So you have laid out how to perfect your pitch. So first, let's just walk through your points on the pitch. So first up, keep it short, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so what I like to say to people is it's often called an elevator pitch, but the more likely scenario is a cocktail party pitch. You've got my attention. You're probably going to be able to hold it for 2 to 3 minutes, maybe 4 or 5, but you got to be brief. So my example in being brief, state what you actually do up front. So if you have a coffee company and that coffee company is called guilt-free coffee, let's say, for example, low-acid coffee, that's the brief bit up front. The second thing you want to do is define the problem for me, because people who just create products and don't define what a problem for me is, that doesn't really resonate. So the problem in my example is 23 million Americans actually have acid reflux and they can't drink coffee. So that tells me a bit about what the product you offer is and what the problem is. The third thing you want to do is you want to tell me your solution. So in the case of my guilt-free coffee, you want to be able to tell me we have a low-acid coffee. It addresses 23 million Americans. The solution is we've designed a manufacturing process that actually strips out the acid in manufacturing. We have it patented. And so suddenly now I understand what you do, what the problem is, what the solution is. The next thing you want to do, Dagan, is you want to talk about the market size. How big is this opportunity? And I find that what people do is they often fall into a trap of either one side of the spectrum talking about a $2.3 trillion market, something crazy, and I'm not even paying attention at that point. Or on the other side, they don't define any market size. In my example, let's say I've got 23 million Americans, and they spend just $10 a month on coffee. Well, over the course of a year, that's a market size of $3 billion, right? So giving me the target market is really important. The next thing you want to do is actually tell me what traction you've gotten to date. What progress have you made? Is it on the back of an envelope, or are you actually in process? Do you have patented technology? And the final thing you want to do in this cocktail party or elevator pitch is you want to tell me what's unique about you as an individual that's going to make you successful. If you've been designing video games for the last 8 years and you suddenly want to launch this low-acid coffee, it's a bit of a stretch. But if you have a material sciences background or you've been running a coffee chain for the last 7 years, you know, my ears perk up. I'm ready to listen.
But there's more to it, because this just you've just walked us through what you want to hear. But there's certain things that you want to see as well, and you have some advice for people on that.
Sure. Well, what I would say, number one, is show me some energy. Give me enthusiasm. You'd be surprised the number of people who pitch and they mumble or they're not that excited. I mean, if you're not excited about your idea, I mean, don't expect me to be excited, you know? And you'd be surprised how many people come across that way. The second thing I like to tell people is be human. People hide behind a lot of industry jargon and they'll throw out a lot of buzzwords. And my view is if you're overly technical or throwing out jargon when you're speaking to me, it's probably because you're hiding behind the fact you don't really understand your market. So I like to tell people be human and use human examples. The third thing I like to tell people is use numbers. You know, I talked about it a little bit earlier. You know, when I go through 23 million Americans, $10 a month, $3 billion market size. If you're talking to me about numbers and facts and figures, suddenly my ears perk up again. I can sense what the opportunity is. The other thing, Dagan and Robert, that I find that people don't do is they don't tell me what they want from me. And, you know, I like to call this, you know, the close. You need to tell me what are you looking for, you know. You'd be surprised how many people don't close on me. And so are you looking for $500,000? Are you looking for $1 million? Or do you just want to come back and see me next year? Or do you want some introductions to a local VC in the Southeast and you want to ask me for advice? So you really need to do that. And the final piece of advice I give people is be prepared for the deep dive. You know, often at a cocktail party it doesn't turn into that, but it just might happen that, you know, GRP Partners was an early stage funder of Starbucks. You know, so I'm probably prepared to have a deep dive on coffee.
And we know coffee's for closers, Mark.
Yeah, there you go.
That was very good. Mark, we can't add anything to that. That was incredible. That was incredible. But sometimes it comes down, as you were pointing out, to the things people overlook, like getting so nervous and focused on what they're saying. It's how they're saying it that comes across badly.
You know, that's interesting, and I don't understand also, like, that you know that you're going to be faced with this cocktail party pitch scenario a lot of times in your career. It's not just pitching a VC. You bump into a potential customer. You bump into a business partner. You bump into a journalist who wants to cover your story, right? What are you going to say? And you need to practice that, and it needs to roll off your tongue with energy and excitement. If it's the first time you're saying it or you're not used to saying it, it's not going to sound that good.
We practice all the time. Mark, you're sticking around for the next hour. Ali Wing is here, the founder of Giggle. Incredible stuff. Get on the horn. Call us.
Call us. Email us.
We'll be right back, everybody. Take it, baby.
Yeah, welcome back. Your money, your questions, your money. I'm Robert Gray. This is Dagan McDowell.
Getting fired up. We want to hit the phones.
Absolutely. We've got Linda from D.C. calling us on the phone. Linda, what's on your mind this afternoon?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I've got a question for you. I recently, and kind of sadly, have inherited my mother's business, and she was very successful. She sold over 2 million cookbooks in her career as a self-published